fighter was like, why didn't you stop this? Why didn't you do something? And he just says, I'm finding myself slowly detaching. He says, because there's the same number of molecules in a dead body than in a live one. So it's hard for me to differentiate. Whew, that's heavy. He's so powerful that it's like, oh, all of this stuff is the same material. So, so what? Yeah.
Yeah, it weighs if a gram is a gram, yeah, it weighs the same.
Oh, that reminds me of that old joke, right? The old riddle. What? How much does a ton of feathers weigh?
Versus a ton of bricks. Or which one weighs more?
Which one weighs more? Right.
That reminds me of one of the most relevant connections to this advocacy experience that I've had. People often ask me, Kyle, you meet these people, you don't really know them. You're advocating for them. Of all these other causes, you're advocating for them. Another story, but they end it with, "What if you find out that person is not innocent? What if you find out that they're guilty?" And I've had a similar type of detachment over time from being just a one issue advocate to coming to really connect with all people who are going through that experience, because no one wants to be in it. No one volunteers to go to prison and stays there. Right. But I'm sure you can find one person.
Besides Kanye West.
Right. But nobody. It's easy to forget the oneness of which we're all an expression. And I think that actually supersedes the individual actions or the merit of someone's guilt or innocence. I'm one of those people. I've had the experience of being incarcerated rightfully and wrongfully. So I understand both. And I know that sympathy on one side is way more attractive. But it just takes me back to the principle that punishment should not be infinite. Human beings make mistakes, and nobody should be reduced to just their worst day on earth, their worst day.
I love that. I want you to say it again, but you're basically saying no one, like, prison should be permanent, right? Like, especially like capital punishment, right? That's so final. We've absolutely in this country alone put people to death who are absolutely innocent, which falls into your three categories, right? The difficulties in discussing prison reform, real true change. I believe you said, there are some dangerous people, right? But there are also some innocent people, and then there are the people in between who are just mixed in with them because what else are we gonna do?
And the innocent people, it takes decades to get out. You miss your child's entire child and adolescent life. Brothers getting out of here. Larry Smith in Michigan, Marvin Cotton Jr. who just got released. There's another brother got released today or two yesterday, within the last 48 hours. You can let somebody out. You cannot undo what you did to them for 20-some years. You cannot confine their body like that and trap them in the middle of people who really are live and dangerous with an entire community of other people to victimize, and expect them to get out and be ready to parent or ready to go get a job or ready to even do probation. If they're paroled out. And there has to be, until we wake up and recognize how we've used incarceration as a country, we at least have to begin to empathize with people who are there right now. There's a lot of social justice movements that I've been associated with, have been a part of, and they often, until I get there, have no connection to this part of it, to the experience of incarceration, which is the broadest reach and effect of racism. And historically, you won't find many families who are not touched by it in some way. And once it has you for life. It has generational impacts, with your children being way more
Right.
likely to go to prison. So I don't think you can talk about racism effectively without talking about incarceration. I think you probably can talk about incarceration without talking about racism. To clarify some of what I was saying earlier, but respecting, loving other human beings, or just caring, just caring, goes a long way, and we need more people to start. And for people who don't understand that connection, I pity them. But for people who do, I need you to know there are a world of people out there who need your help and who need a hand or need someone to answer the phone. And I appreciate you for using your platform to help me amplify that message.
Absolutely. We have much work to do. And I want people to be okay with, like, well, yeah. You know, I love the idea of JFK in his inaugural, I should probably know how to say that word, inaugural address, right? Where he's saying, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And then Obama echoes that when he says, we have a lot of work to do. This isn't going to get better because I'm president. Like, that's a bold thing to say right off the bat, because it's all about what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Here are my promises. I promise, I got you. Like, how do you know? You've never been president of the United States of America. How do you know? You don't even know the full limitations and breadth of your job, but you're making me all these promises? How do you know? And so the idea that I need Americans to know that there's something wrong with one child going hungry with food security, one child being homeless, one child who has to see their family ripped apart because that black guy kind of looks like this black guy, or that white gentleman looks kind of like this white gentleman, because it happens on both sides, but it's just disproportionate.
Yes, it does.
For people who look like you and me. And that's what we're talking about here.
Agreed. This is definitely a disproportionate outcome, but that's something that, and this is why it should be the easiest bipartisan draw once awareness is raised, because it's not hard to imagine your child there, but it affects everybody. There's communities where people from South America living in the States are very disproportionately impacted, and it seems like that's the whole prison. There's prisons where you damn near won't find white people at unless they're in uniform working there, and then you got some where they run the yard. So this system of incarceration that we've built, when they say F the police, they don't say F the police in such and such county. It's because our practices are so recognized, so uniform across the board, that you understand how policing works over here because you've experienced it over here, and someone over there can validate that for you. And all of a sudden, eventually, one day we look up and say, you know what? These oh man, they got us.
It's nonpartisan.
Right. Everybody has a stake in this issue.
So that's funny, because I'm a fan of TV and movies and music of all genres. One of the things that I grew to love was a show called Friends. Are you familiar with Friends?
Yeah. Right.
So on this show, oh man, I'm trying not to mess up this line. I swear to you. So hold on, this might be some cut space. I'm just gonna sit and think for a minute. Sorry, audience. So I love Friends, and one of the things that happened on Friends is they were all like telling each other secrets, right? And so the character Ross, he got his secret told that he doesn't like ice cream, right? Now, just because that thing was said out loud does not mean that it carried all across the globe as like, or all across the United States of like, I know, man, ice cream sucks. We need to get ice cream out of there, right? Now, you hear the statement, I'm going to say, I should probably be saying this word more often, FRAP the police. There's a family-friendly version. The show is What the Frap. I probably should have done an intro or something. Welcome to What the Frap. I'm your boy Jay Zilla. I'm here with Kyle Robinson, and he is a convict empowerment specialist. Sorry it took so long to get there, wife. I know she's gonna see this and like, what are you doing? Do you not care about promoting your own stuff at all? She's the business-minded part. Like, I'm just the heart, right? So to hear that statement, like, people are gonna say all sorts of frivolous things, you know, but to put that in a song and it resonate from coast to coast, that should have been a huge wake up for a lot of people. Because they took it all the way to Congress. All the way to Congress. We've got to stop this kind of language.
Kids still saying it now. Don't know Ice-T, don't know none of the other versions of the song, the remixes, and it's
know how messed up the police is.
Yeah, it's like they know that phrase. You know, in F12, like they say it without even having experienced it, because it's almost, you know, ingrained in us. In a
right.
The human evolution happens at different speeds on a physical level versus a social level. So biologically, it takes a while. Socially, it can happen in just a couple of generations. Right. Not only have we done the work so far of waking up and understanding that our policing needs to change, but we don't need to wait any longer to understand what the effects are, how it crushes people, how it reshapes their life, how it traumatizes people. And Absolutely. If it does it over here, and here, then you know what? Whatever is up here is wrong. And what's up here is our approach to policing. That's what's universal. You can't just change the police departments anymore. There are so many overlapping or intertwined jurisdictions, personal relationships that have solidified or fossilized the way that we do things in court, that now it's a given that people who are in prison are going to suffer. It's a given that people in prison, their food has to suck. It's a given that people in solitary confinement are exposed to extreme abuse. That stuff should, not only is it all illegal, that stuff should be distasteful for any human being. You know, in this year, it's time for us to move as a society to transition into something more adolescent than our primal. You did the crime, do the time. You know, lock them up, throw away the key. The very cliche, this cliche approach to real human beings who have nuance, who have stories. There was a story. I'm gonna save this one for the next one because it's gonna derail.
Oh, not the tease! I was really like, okay, so is that something that you will learn, right? As far as being the founding member of About Time Toastmasters, right?
I can't speak to that, but what I can say is that I'm in a course, because Toastmasters is great, but Toastmasters is the starting point for improving your communication. There's a certification program that I'm involved with as a student, as an enrollee, called Mastery in Action. It's instructed by and created by Linda Marie Miller, who is annually one of the world's top 5 speakers. Not just asking me, but actually if you go to the World Championship of Public Speaking, you know, she's advanced to the final stage.
Whoa, hang on. There's a world champ for public speaking?
World champ. Correct. And which
I'll write that down.
Yeah. So Toastmasters has an international contest each year. This year it's in the Bahamas, and it is a heck of a entryway and elevator up in personal communication and leadership skills. But there are some advanced tricks and tools that can only come from the world's best speakers, giving you their experience, and those are some that I learned. But the tease is not one of them, unfortunately. But the story is that good. Now, telling the story is something that is a heck of a skill, but you're only gonna learn it so well until you actually start studying the people who do it best. So yeah, I've been Toastmasters, and I see that as the golden ticket to opening up the door of communication and leadership growth to people who've had their voices silenced, especially by incarceration, or just anyone who wants to develop their presentation skills.
Right.
But you can believe that I'm going to be in collaboration with the other officers, booking and directing speeches about issues that affect human beings' lives and that move hearts, messages that need to be heard. Again, the
stories. The word you use that like I perked up at is stories. One of the things that have withstood the test of, you know, at least a few thousand years, stories. Like, how prevalent is Christianity? You know what I mean? And honestly, if you look at Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they're technically serving the same gods. They just have some difficult, you know, some minor, I don't want to say discrepancies, but disagreements, I think is a better word. But the stories have survived, and not everybody could read and write in those days. A lot of these stories were told verbally and passed down from generation to generation, and here it is, it survived. And whether you believe or not, it's something to be said. Like Louis C.K. said, you know how I know the Christians won? What year is it? Like, at some point, we just stopped counting in sequence and just said, you know what? It's
2001.
Let's see a zero. New clock right now. We all just said, oh, okay. Like, no matter what you believe.
That's my favorite Louis C.K. piece, by the way. That's the one that was like, I was like, oh yeah, he got me with that one. What year is it, everybody?
What year is it? What year is
it? Stories have the capacity to draw people in, to hold their attention better than anything else. I can sit up here and give you fact after fact after fact, and then more facts. But when I start telling a story, watch what happens to your ears. You find yourself wanting to know what, if I tell it right. Now, I'm not a master at telling stories yet. I know people who are, so I'm definitely not going to embarrass myself.
Hey, got me.
But when someone's telling a story, like I said earlier, only you can tell your story. If you're empowered with the know-how to tell your own story, then you can do anything. For the entire time that I was in my post-release phase of incarceration, I suffered so much because I couldn't communicate my story. I had all the passion, all the experience, all the connection to the issue in the world. That was my story. I knew a lot of people who were concerned about the issue, who were advocates, who were involved, but didn't have that story. I have the story, but I didn't always know how to tell it. And somewhere towards the end of it, I go into a part of my life where things began to change. And that's why recognizing that in me, and it being so recent, relatively recent, in the last couple of years, it allows me to be fresh and close enough to see where is it that we need help when we're re-entering society. And the ability to tell your story is a start. And one of the benefits of taking on communication and leadership skills, if you go through the right avenues. There's a lot of people out there that just want to sell you the idea that you can be a great speaker. You don't have to pay a lot of money to become a great speaker. You have to put in work, and you have to practice, and you have to speak, and you have to be okay with looking like, feeling uncomfortable watching yourself on camera for a while. But I say this as someone who just recently has been able to stomach watching themselves, tell their story. And once I was able to tell my story, the world changed in that I don't need to tell it every time I talk. I don't have this pressure from inside trying to let something out.
Right.
And I can listen.
Man, we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. I don't know who said that, but cheers to you, sir or ma'am.
I've heard it, and it rings true. Listening is just as much a part of communication as talking is, and that's it's really the key to effective communication. If you're not listening, you're a bad communicator. You're out of the game. But so understanding that people who are re-entering into society have been forced to listen for so long to what society says about them is a key reason behind wanting to empower them to be able to respond with their own stories. Yeah.
Right. So, I'm going to push back on the force.
Okay.
Right? Because now we're getting into semantics. We're getting into, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Right? And I mean, I've always been okay, here it is. You said that they're forced. I think it's more so along the lines of some type of I'm trying to say it like my wife would say it, because she's very brilliant, even though she's extremely camera shy. Of willful ignorance. Like, I feel like, because I'll stay in my own experience. I went through this life working at a factory, and then I go spend the money on the weekend, and then I go back to the factory, and that thing worked for me for a long time. But there's a couple of times where I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't like cars that much. Why am I building a car? Like, why am I working? I agreed to 8 hours. What do they mean that we got to do 10 hours? Like, have to? That phrase right there just literally started bothering me. I'll tell you a quick story. Just a little bit of something about me. I'm extremely comfortable in my own skin. Now, where that gets me in trouble is I do believe that sometimes people, justifiably, sometimes unjustifiably so, judge a book by its cover. My sister, who's a master's holder, she's got businesses, she does a lot. Okay, she says, now things are different. You can't come back to Tennessee and just wearing on any kind of thing. You gotta look on point. You gotta do this. Only thing I heard was, I have to. Why? Can you effectively tell me why? Well, people may think, why do I care about what they think? So I did an experiment. I went to Tennessee. I'm in New Mexico now. I went back home to Tennessee, and I wore the same outfit every day. Some khaki shorts and a black t-shirt. Now I had multiple pairs of the shorts and shirt, but I just basically pulled a Doug Funny. I'm gonna wear some khaki shorts and a black t-shirt every day. And I still was able to get in some rooms and speak with some very important people and get a lot of business done. Because what I had to say trumped what type of outfit. So I told her, if that's true in this case, you probably, along with myself and everyone else, should probably relook at those things that you have to or feel forced to do. Like,
agreed.
God forbid, I'm gonna go in some muddy waters. Let me get you off the screen because I don't want you to be attached to this in any way, shape, or form. Don't go anywhere, okay? Bill Cosby. If he tells me to take this pill, this mysterious pill, and drink this mysterious liquid fast, I've got a couple of questions. Like, one, I'm over here at 3 a.m. That's probably not a good idea, but whatever. I'm trying to get ahead in my profession. But if Bill Cosby told me that, I might have to fight Bill Cosby. And at the time, this man was very beloved, and I will probably be done in Hollywood. I may even spend some jail time. But you know what's not going to happen to me? He's not going to knock me out and have his way with me and then kick me out of his house when I wake up like I'm just a piece of trash. Now, I say that, Cal Robinson, coming from an extreme place of male privilege. Now, so there's something bigger at work that those women felt forced, which is why I have a problem with forced and have to. Because for me, I'm very analytical. I'm weighing the pros and cons. I desperately want to be the biggest actor ever. Someone offers me an opportunity in exchange for taking a mysterious pill and drinking some alcohol or something fast so it can start reacting fast. I don't know what this thing is going to do to me. At that moment, I think I want to become a bank teller. Now, how do we empower people who feel like they're forced into crime? I had to do it for my family, son.
So there's multiple elements that we're discussing here. There's this internal pressure that we feel to provide or to achieve or to satisfy our needs. And then there's external coercion, which is what someone else is trying to impose on you. You know, whatever, my general theory is whatever you do is on you. What actions you take are on you. Wherever it throws me or puts me, you know, that's on me. How I react to it, how I respond emotionally, that's on me. When people are doing things to provide for their children, let me take the philosophy out of it and put it like this so that it applies to everybody. If your kids get hungry enough, you will steal.
Yeah.
If you are naturally inclined to do what we as society feel like is right to provide for your children, you will move away from crime way before you're presented with a have to do crime. And then you have this odd area. Then you have this odd area in which our country has moved a certain segment of its population from you have to work in these fields, or you have to go without a father because we need to fill our prisons up, to expecting us, or this, I'm not going to call it no names, the segment of the society, to participate in society as if everything's choice. No, you have impact, generational impact. You have generational trauma, which is not easily measurable. All of this stuff plays a part in what someone may perceive as their options, what they can do, what they have to, and what's too far to dream. As we move closer towards an alignment in that, I just hope that we will take into consideration the people who are still suffering from previous generations of that, because they exist too and their children do too. But like you said, or to agree with your point, there are far more possibilities on offer to us than what we're shown, or than what we market to each other, or sometimes even feel comfortable pursuing or telling each other that we pursue. You might, Jay Zilla, you really might want to be an astronaut. You're a bad example. There's a lot of people who I know who have big dreams and may want to build rocket ships, but that's not what's promoted in our communities. Our communities reflect what has been promoted, which is, how do I survive? Impose my will on others, even if they look like me, even if they're family and community, to survive. And I think that style of coercion is at play because it's still supported by these systems with the same people, or the third or fourth generations of people who have the ability, like their forefathers generations ago, to put you and I in prison without a moment's thought about what it'll do or whether or not it's fair. You have states who have to pay a premium, contractually have to pay a premium if they have prison beds that are not filled. Therefore, you have some states that are over-incarcerated and have to ship their prisoners to other states so that they get a kickback and this other state can meet its needs. Incarceration should not be a business. It's nobody's business. We have to make it our business. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's been someone else's business for far too long.
Wow. And again, to feed back into that loop of willful ignorance. Like, if you're at your job right now and you hate your life, start changing things. You have to. You just have to. And but well, I got this bill and that bill. Wrap it, consolidate, move into a trailer, fix your situation. Oh,
Do
well,
you
if I
do
move into a trailer, people gonna think, wrap it. What do they think now?
Are you doing what you love? Are you doing what you love?
Absolutely.
And it comes across. It comes across in the way that you present. You belong behind the mic. You belong in the studio. Like it's
oh goodness.
It's obvious, and you can tell when someone's doing what they love. I didn't realize that I could do what I love, and it would be rewarding. But once I started doing what I love, and I made that number one, life seems to arrange itself in a way that everything else is okay. And I know that that's not the typical wisdom that our parents might have pushed on us, but you really have to find what you love as soon as possible and pursue it. And for me, once I realized that I was already doing it, oh man, I there's nothing that I'm chasing. I don't have a bucket list. What I want to do is help people who are in situations that I can relate to get out, but to help other people as well. My focus is rather targeted. But nothing that I do concerning people incarcerated feels like work. I have a regular day job. That's not work. That's to allow me to do what it is that I've assigned as a purpose in my life. And I
still DoorDash.
It's 2023. Everybody's selling DoorDash and driving. But if you push,
right.
if you empower people to do what they want, you also have to simultaneously create a world in which they can pursue what they want. And you're doing so out of a legacy of a world where a lot of Americans, particularly Black Americans and poor whites, cannot do what they want, even if those wants are as basic as being free and being at home for parenting your children. So incarceration affects everyone, whether it's not one certain type of crime. You name the experience. I know somebody with it, from soccer mom, who just made a wrong turn, to Axilla over here, who's cutting people up, sticking them in the freezer. If you can imagine them, they're there, and there is a better alternative or solution, a way that it could have worked out in almost every case. And I think it's hard to trust sometimes because the finances, the economic situation in our country. But I can't overstate. Do what you love. Do what you dream to do, and then I think that will set the tone for everyone else. But you have to believe you can, and we have to show people that they can by removing some of the barriers we've had before to show people that they cannot.
Right. That's interesting. So, is it perhaps that we are speaking to not necessarily the wrong people, because this is knowledge that you are specially equipped with as a convict empowerment specialist, but how do we affect the people that have the power and resources and time and frankly the education to actually change? Now, I know how profitable prison is. How do you incentivize putting this profit down and build something that's probably more profitable than all of these prisons, but can actually help society?
You have to, in my opinion, you have to point out to people, because we don't have the power and they don't have the interest. So you have to help them understand that the system as it's set up, while they think it works to their benefit, it undermines everyone, including them. And you just have to make them see that. You have to make them see that you can't lock up a whole segment of the communication, of the community, and expect that not to have economic impact. You can't expect that not to have social impact. Your kids are going to go to school with their kids, and they're going to find out about you. And now you're not going to have a relationship with your kids in many cases. Like, with the ability of our species now to transform at a pace that it never has before, put simply, social media. You cannot get away with the same stuff going into the future and expect to have and keep the same relationships, the same statues and monuments, the same social following, the same community-based structure and support that you have before. The
Privileges.
Right, you're going to lose different privileges now. This is a very rigid and robust system that we're coming from. It will not survive another generation without the type of social blowback that I think is no government can recover from.
Man. So I was gonna put in the private chat, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask this question. How many billionaires do you think there are worldwide?
I'm not.
You know what?
I'm not.
You know what? Let's do it this way. So
let's say this straight up guess between 200 and 250.
200, 250,000, 100.
No, 250 billionaires. How far off am I?
Whew.
This is a straight up guess.
Over a couple of thousand.
Okay. How many in the country? A couple thousand?
You know what? I'm not sure. I know there's like 13 worldwide that are black. You know, most of them are from like the giant. I want to say the guy who like basically owns all the cement production companies in Africa. He's the richest man in Africa. You know, he's a black dude. But there are less than 3,000 billionaires. Okay. How much do you think it takes to be a part of the 1%?
Probably around 400 grand, 500. But look, no, it's less than half a billion. Less than half a million, I mean. Let's say 378,000 on average.
We're going to do it this way. We play a game called FRAP Yeah and FRAP No. So FRAP is a family-friendly word that came from my college days at Vanderbilt University. Short that they were. We had a coach Bobby Johnson at the time. He had a no cursing policy. And so FRAP, the F word and crap smashed together, was the result of that rule. See, kids are always going to find a way. Okay? So yeah, man. Okay, so we play a game on the show called FRAP Yeah, FRAP No. So FRAP is a word from our Vanderbilt University days, where the head coach there had a no cursing policy. So it's the F word and crap combined because kids always find a way, right? So you're gonna answer rapid fire, FRAP Yeah, FRAP No, right? Don't explain, don't think, right? This is all about feeling, okay? There are more than 1,000 billionaires worldwide. FRAP Yeah, FRAP No.
Nah.
FRAP No. There are almost 3,000 of them. A lot of them are very behind the scenes. We know Kanye and Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos because they're very front-facing. A lot of people make their billions quietly. And I mean quietly. Next one. To be a part of the top 1% worldwide is less than $500,000. FRAP Yeah, FRAP No.
FRAP no. FRAP no.
It takes over frapping $800,000 now to be a part of the 1% worldwide.
I would have thought it was like 4.
Yeah.
400,000.
Yeah, so a very exclusive group, right? Okay. We'll do this. Kanye West, FRAP Yeah, FRAP No.
FRAP no.
Almost had one of those media gotcha questions. I
was about to say FRAP maybe, but because I was thinking about the first album, the first 2 albums, and then I was like, nah.
Hey, producer, get him out of here. Get out of here. FRAP maybe. You can't change the rules of the game. Hey man, Cal, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. We have to do this some more. Yeah, I'll get with you after the show because I need more of this. tell me about one last time the audience where they can find any materials that you're attached to, especially that public speaking competition. So tell us, just I guess go through it.
Okay,
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you having me on the show and making a space like this, and doing it in such a respectable way, in collaboration with your family and their needs. This is what I would want if I had the talent to do speaking publicly at the level you do. But for the little bit of fight that I've got, I want to direct everything I know towards helping people who are formerly incarcerated have a space to regain their voice after the traumatic experience that prison often is, and the weight that it puts on you that causes you to lose your voice, to feel like you don't matter. And that takes people who are formerly incarcerated, it takes people who aren't, it takes us coming together as a community. And for people who want to enhance their presentation skills, About Time Toastmasters is the way to go. It is in its pre-charter phase. I am looking for people who are interested and have an intention or attention to that issue of incarceration. We need people to come and do speeches, and we need club officers. That can all be accessed. Information that can be accessed by reaching out to me at abouttimetoastmasters@gmail.com. abouttimetoastmasters@gmail.com. If you want to get involved with the issue of supporting our sisters, supporting women who are incarcerated, there's no better way to do it than if you go to Facebook. I know it sounds hard. Go to Facebook, type in Miscarrying, MISSCARRYING, all one word, Justice League, WHV. You'll see it pop up. Join the group, like the page, support Tamara Washington's efforts to uplift not just her own story of wrongful incarceration, but a lot of stories of excessive and wrongful incarceration of different sorts. There is something for everyone, a part for everyone to play in actively reforming our justice system. And if you're unclear on what way you want to do that, I know a lot more ways to help, and you can reach out to me personally at amplifiedsilencepodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you within a day. That's all I got.
That's fantastic. That's all I got. Like it's some small thing, right?
That's all I can remember. That's what I remember.
That's all you can remember. You nailed it. Thank you so much for coming on. You'll just have to come back.
And be sure to tune in to the What the FRAP podcast with Jay Zilla and his wife Asher. It's like that.
Hey, all the way from New York. Yes, sir.
So as a convict empowerment specialist, I find ways to help people who are incarcerated gain leverage. And that can be leverage to access to communication, access to social media. That can be building social media pages for people. That can be doing research for somebody. That can be using AI artificial intelligence to draft outreach letters for this person's support campaign. It means whatever it takes, and whatever it takes is specific to each person's needs. So as a convict empowerment specialist, I adapt to whatever people need based on their intention and the evidence that they'll put good into society. Not wasting time. But for those people who are in there that are about something, I am going to do everything I can to uplift them and say that no, this system does not get the final say on telling your story.
Beautiful job, man. Okay, last 30 seconds of the show, we're going to do two things, okay? One, tell me how can we get involved in this competition? for public speaking?
You have to be a part of a Toastmasters club. It's the largest nonprofit that there is, I think, in the world. I'm a member of 2 Toastmasters clubs and founding a third one. And each one offers something different. Whatever type of club you need to feel at home, let me put it like this: whatever space you need to feel comfortable developing your communication and leadership skills, there is a club for that. And now with everything being virtual, there's a lot of options to go online and you don't even have to leave the house. So take those options up. But if you are at all interested in creating doors and providing ears and speaking out concerning issues of incarceration or people who are re-entering society, this club is founded specifically for people like you. And you can email me at abouttimetoastmasters@gmail.com. It's about time.
Whew, that's a mic drop right here. So listen, my wife is gonna kill me. My beautiful wife and producer, okay, is gonna kill me about this next part. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Hopefully she doesn't hit the outro, while I'm trying to really break this down, because she says I'm talking too much already. But here it is. Okay. Here's my problem with Black Lives Matters.
Dramatic military operation in Africa to rescue U.S. diplomats and their families from the war-torn capital of Sudan.
This week, the U.S. reached a somber milestone with more mass shootings than days in the year so far.
Tonight, fear enveloping postal workers across the country.
I just got held up. He has the cookies.
Caught on camera, neighborhood mail carriers targeted by robbers, many like this one near Boston, held up at gunpoint. Near Houston, a mailman forced to put his hands in the air.